On the catch-up today, Liesl chats to vet and Dr. Kresen Pillay about Gorilla Makokou. The interview is coming now. Makokou is a 35-year-old Western lowland gorilla in the Johannesburg Zoo who is said to undergo surgery today after developing polyps on his nose. Now, Dr. Pillay is part of the medical team overseeing the operation.
Walk us through who Makokou the gorilla is. I mean, is he an endangered species? Why does this matter so much to the public?
Thanks, Hazel, for having me on the show. Yeah, it's a pleasure to be here. A lot of effort has gone into, the procedures that are going on, and it's all for our special boy. Call him a special boy, but he's an old man right now. So Makokou is our 34-year-old Western lowland gorilla. He arrived at the zoo in 2004 from Germany and has been with us since then. He's turning 35 on the 9th of July. So he is becoming an older boy. Western lowland gorillas, according to your IUCN Red List, they classified as critically endangered. He's only one of 5 in the country. And their numbers are around, possibly less than 100,000. In the world. So he is a critically endangered species. So his genetics are really important. He's a really important, individual for us to keep, so that we have an insurance population. Should something wrong go in the wild, we have his genetics to further create new generations of these Western lowland gorillas.
Dr. Pillay, I mean, back in November of 2019, Makokou got sick. In May of 2020, he then underwent a full health examination, and obviously there was some unearthings. Walk us through what exactly was found, and how did this impact the operation that he's set to undergo?
So as the media has seen, it's been quite an extensive procedure that's been going on. So around December last year, Makokou started showing signs of a nasal discharge. We had him on conservative medical treatment. So that's with culture-directed antibiotics, nebulization, anti-inflammatories, painkillers, all of those sorts of medication, and even nasal decongestants. And then what we would notice is that his symptoms would resolve, and then he would be fine for a while. And then after the medication was stopped, these symptoms would actually reoccur. That's when we actually decided, on the 20th of May, we needed to pull a large team together. So we managed to get quite a few specialists involved. We had a big team of specialists coming from the Faculty of Veterinary Science, which is the University of Pretoria. So they brought in along specialists. We had a diagnostic imaging team from IMV Imaging South Africa. We had all these role players coming together, including our veterinary hospital and our veterinary team at the Johannesburg Zoo. So, we're part of Johannesburg City Parks and Zoo. So together with our animal collection department and these specialists, we had 2 weeks of intensive preparations for a health check.
What goes into those preparations? I mean, you're saying it was a 2-week procedure, but I mean, there must be protocols as well that has to unearth. What did it look like for you guys?
So it was a lot of meetings, a lot of planning, a lot of emails, lots of email threads back and forth. We went through to international advisors who also assisted, because we were trying to find similar cases. So the first procedure on the 20th, we didn't know what was causing his problems, and that's why it was so important to do a thorough health exam. So we did radiographs, we did blood work. We had a specialist come and scan his heart. We used a little scope that went up his nose to see if there's any problems there. He had a dental exam. He had specialists come and examine his eyes. So it was quite an intensive team. And it was through that health exam that we found that he's got these nasal polyps, or these growths in his nose, and a sample was taken of that. And that's what led us to the next phase. So I've been calling this sort of whole operation, 3 phases at the moment. It's been phase 1 was his health check. Phase 2 was now further diagnosing the nasal polyps and seeing how far they are affecting his sinuses as well. And that's when the helicopter came into play. And that was a whole another amazing opportunity. We were all involved in that. And then what we did was we immobilized him at the zoo. Then we put him onto the helicopter, and then he was airlifted to the Onrusteport Veterinary Academic Hospital. Their CT scan is large enough, and it was able to take his weight. The table can take, he's about 210 kgs, so he's a big boy. And then also we needed to remember that we're living through a pandemic. And that's complicated these things a lot. It hasn't been easy organizing. So besides ensuring that Makoko is fine, we've had to ensure that we maintain our occupational health and safety regulations. That we follow lockdown policies. Although we are performing an essential service, and it's Makoko's life who's at risk. So we have to do all we can. The CT scan was conducted, and that gave us more insight into what's going on in his sinuses, and from there we could see it's actually quite an extensive problem. So Makoko's nowhere near out of the woods, but that helped plan. We've got an ENT surgeon, Dr. Kobus Venter, who's kindly offered to do the surgery. So he was there when the CT scan was done, and the CT scans were able to help prepare him for the surgery. We even had to go internationally to ask. We had to ask international zoos, other zoos, a lot of other veterinarians around the world, if they have baseline CT scans of gorillas, because this exam is not done oftenly, So we got about 6 or 7 CT scans from around the world, which have been sent to us, so that helped us to evaluate, what's normal.
I'm just thinking about the risks involved with such a procedure, and perhaps what the preparations that Makokou maybe had to undergo in terms of dietary or rest that he had to incur during this preparation period. What did it look like for him?
So what we do with our great apes is we've got an anesthetic protocol on how we're going to immobilize them and what's going to be the safest way. So, we were doing subtle changes in those 2 weeks. We added a curtain to one of the areas so that I could hide behind it and dart him. Those things have to be done slowly. If you suddenly do it on the day, he's going to know. They're highly intelligent animals. And then on the day, we make sure that people are not around who he doesn't know. Because if anyone goes there who he's not familiar with, in his personal space, he might wonder what's going on. So we actually give them a tranquilizer in a little bit of orange juice. So, his favorite keepers, they work very well with him. He's got lots of love for them as they got love for him. So, he'll take that orange juice nicely with the medication. And that causes a bit of amnesia. It makes him forget the scenario. It also just calms him down a bit. And then obviously I come in as the bad guy, and then I have to dart him with the immobilization drugs. Then once that happens, he will fall asleep, and then we can actually handle him and work with him.
I'm looking at the costs incurred. Who's going to cover this, and what support have you been getting from other organizations or initiatives to support the funding of the operation?
So honestly, we've been truly amazed by the feedback we've received. I've told everyone this is a truly inspirational story where you see so many people of diverse backgrounds. You see all these teams. It's we call it a multidisciplinary approach. So everyone comes together, for a common goal, and it's for conservation. It's for wildlife. It's for an endangered species. It's for animals who don't have a voice of their own. And that's been amazing. That's why I say it's hard to mention everyone, but literally from the beginning, University of Pretoria, all the specialists involved sponsored their time. They've been coming free of charge, assisting us. The zoo covered the costs of our, immobilization and those sorts of things. But a lot of the other consumables, and especially the specialized equipment that we don't keep day to day, was actually sponsored for that day. And now that's literally just the 20th of May. That's not including everything else. Then we come to the helicopter. And, that was amazing. We had, so it's an NGO called Flying for Freedom. And MCC Aviation is, a company that supports them. And they actually kindly offered to fly Makoko free of charge. You got a first-class ticket on a helicopter. without even knowing. That was amazing. So yeah, it was something else. This is the first time that we know of that a gorilla has been flown asleep on a helicopter, and that went smoothly. That was perfect. Then there's a fund called Donata Fund, and they've partnered up with the University of Pretoria, and Prof. Gerard Steenkamp was kind enough to arrange this for us, where the bill for the CT scan was actually covered by this fund. These funds are available for conservation, for research, for these big projects that make a difference, and that's been amazing. So the list is endless. The response to Makokou's plight has been amazing.
So in terms of recovery for Makokou, I mean, what does it look like? Will he be ready to celebrate his birthday come the 9th of July? And what other procedures can we expect from here into for Makokou?
So, we have to be careful about how we approach this, we are excited for his birthday. It's a huge landmark. But we have to remember it's quite a serious ailment that he's got. So we're going to be putting his health first. That's the most important thing for us. We're hoping that in the one surgery we can remove everything we need to, and that he can recover. But there is always a possibility that he might need to have another surgery in a couple of weeks' time. So it's hard to gauge, how his recovery is going to be. A lot is dependent on tomorrow. That's why so much of planning and so much of specialist time, equipment, personnel have gone into tomorrow's procedure. Everything else that led up to tomorrow was telling us what's wrong with him. What we need to do. Tomorrow is how do we fix him? How do we improve his quality of life? How do we make sure that he can be better? And, unfortunately, these things can take some time.
And it would probably be so selfish of me to ask when we'd be able to visit Makokou at the Johannesburg Zoo. I mean, obviously, given the fact that he has to recover and that his health is a priority, but what are these timelines looking like should all the procedures be successful?
So, it's a hard one to answer. A lot of the stuff is in the dark, so we're hoping that if all goes tomorrow, in a couple of weeks' time, we'll know, because you can obviously have post-op complications. We do have to be aware of that. So in the first couple of weeks, we'll be monitoring closely, checking on his appetite, giving him his treats. He'll get lots of love and attention from his keepers. So Sharon and Catherine, take good care of him. They've been with him all the time that he's been at Johannesburg. So they're going to tell us as well, how we're going to rely on them a lot. They're going to tell us, oh, no, he's not feeling too well today. He might not be eating as much. He might not be eating his favorite treat. And, then we can give updates. It's hard for us to, give promises, especially with something medical and when we're going into the unknown like this as well.